Yeah, so just wanted to start off by welcoming you guys all here and just really appreciative of all of our fans that have showed up for practice. It's been a great setting. The field is awesome. I think the people that put this together with the field and the setup here, it's outstanding. And so a lot of thanks to them. A lot of thanks to our fans for showing up and giving us a lot of great energy for practice. It's really boosted our team, and now we're ready to go. So we're excited to continue to work every day and get better, and looking forward to playing this next preseason game against the Jets.
Coach, your unit was the bright spot of last season. You lost 5 starters, but you seem to still kind of be more than a few steps ahead of the offense. What have you seen from your guys this training camp?
Well, yeah, our guys have done a great job, and yes, we did lose some starters from last year, but it's great when you have guys that came in from outside that we were familiar with. You know, guys like Jordan Fuller and Josie Jewell and Nick Scott, A'Shawn Robinson. So, we really don't feel like we've missed a beat. The guys are familiar with the system, and I would really attribute a lot of that to the coaching staff as well. Just having everybody back from last year, we're very connected. We're on the same page. And when we look at working with the players, I think we don't miss a beat in terms of that perspective. And it's been really, really good to kind of not start over in the spring, but really pick up where we left off at last year.
Coach, Clowney's a known entity as far as a pass rusher, but a lot of unknowns for the rest. Where do you feel like you're going to get your pass rushers here?
Well, we feel really good about the group. Clowney, obviously, his resume speaks for itself, but the group is doing a heck of a job. And they're inexperienced, but there's a lot of talent there, and they're working hard. They're improving. And when I look at where we started off in the spring compared to where they are now, and how they performed in that first preseason game, we've seen a lot of growth from a lot of the young guys. And so, got to give a lot of kudos to Eku, who's done a really good job. DJ Johnson has shown improvement. Luigi's shown improvement. So it's been fun to watch them develop.
Ejiro, how do you think that group will look differently when Barno and or DJ is healthy?
Yeah, when they get back, we'll continue to work with them and try to get them game ready. But they're good football players, so we're excited when they're ready to get back.
Safety's been a strength last year during camp. What stands out about that group to you?
Well, first of all, they're all 3 of those guys are starting 3. I almost like to call them because Nick Scott is an NFL starting caliber safety, but all 3 of those guys are really sharp. They understand our system. They understand how we want to play in a deep part of the field. They're great communicators. So the entire defense as a whole feels really calm when those guys are on the field because they just put everybody at peace with their level of communication. And so it's been really, really good. We're excited about what they're going to do this year.
You've brought in a lot of guys that obviously have the background with your system, but Dane Jackson's a guy that is kind of new to you. What have you seen from him that maybe you didn't see on tape or was confirmed by the tape that you watched with him working with the first team?
Yeah, a lot of it's been confirmed. Ultra competitive. He's tough. He's a physical corner, and we want to play a physical brand of football regardless of the position, and so he really brings that element. He's competitive, and I really, really appreciate the way he's been working since day one when he got here.
You've always been very run-stop oriented, at least in philosophy. How does this group maybe improve that outlook over last year's group?
Yeah, I mean, that's where it starts with the NFL football. It's we got to be able to stop the run because when teams can run the football against you, they dictate play action pass, the boots, and they're just so much harder to defend. And so that's always going to be the emphasis. Like where we are right now, obviously Derek is a heck of a player. We love what Shai Tuttle does. Love the addition of A'Shawn. And then when you look at the growth of the younger guys, like Nick Thurman, LeBron Ray, all of those guys, it's been really a lot of good growth there.
How's it been working with Canales, and how you guys' relationship evolved since the start of training camp?
No, it's been good. It's evolved because we didn't really know each other that well, and now we've become good friends. And he's great to work with. I think he does a great job of connecting with not only the staff but with the players and everybody in the building. He's very open to ideas. He knows what he wants to do. He's got a plan. He's organized, but he's always open to listen. And so even though things may not go your way, you could appreciate the fact that he's considering every option. He's considering what you're saying. And so from that standpoint, it's been good. And I think the product will show for it.
He's mentioned before, from a competitive standpoint, the challenge of facing off against your defense. Where have you seen that show up in terms of a Dave Canales-inspired offense?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've said this before. It's playing against them, those 2 times last year. He gives us a lot of credit, but we got to give him a lot of credit because they're hard to play against, and all of the different things that they do offensively with the formations, the motions, the player deployment, all of that stuff is hard to handle. And so I think it's just all of us making each other better.
Out there today, how did he look out there, and what's he had when you get him back?
Yeah, he looked good. He looked good. He's picked up where he left off at, and the one thing you don't have to worry about with Shaq, whether he's rehabbing or out there playing, is that he's going to be working his butt off. And so he didn't look. I didn't see anything rust or anything like that from that standpoint.
I know you guys have practiced 3 days in a row, but can you clarify why you guys took off pads and maybe did install in the middle of practice?
I don't know that answer to that. I just do as I'm told, and so that's the plan the head coach wanted, and so I just went with it.
So with that said, though, you guys had kind of a dominant showing in that, and Damani Richardson making some plays. What have you seen from like the younger group, Trevin Wallace, Mike Barrett, those type of guys?
Yeah, I think it's, again, a credit to a lot of the coaches on our staff, all the coaches on our staff. They're doing a great job of developing these young guys and pouring into them. And I just love the fact that every one of them are playing a lot faster than when they first showed up which is obviously what you want. But like the growth that these guys are making, the communication level, the anticipation level, all of those things is just really speeding up. And so Trevin has done a really good job. Obviously, Damani has done a great job, and he had some splash plays today. So it's been fun to watch those guys develop.
Was that second play a PBU or a pick, the deep one?
They're all picks. If it's questionable, it's a pick.
Like Dane has really solidified that other spot opposite JC?
I don't want to make any declarations. I really, really like what I'm seeing from Dane, but I like what I'm seeing from Mr. Jameson. I like what I'm seeing from Mr. Boodle. So all of those guys are really doing a good job. All of those guys are really developing, and we just got to see how this plays out.
You mentioned Shaq a second ago. When you lost him so early last year, is that position the hardest thing to try to replace on the fly in your defense?
It is from the mental standpoint for certain. I think just being involved in the run game, the pass game, and NFL offenses aren't what they used to be, where things were stagnant and you just lined up and played versus stagnant formations. Like everything is moving, everything's happening fast. Your adjustments they're not giving you any time to think through your adjustments, and so from a mental standpoint, those guys have to be on point. And there's so much training that goes into getting those guys ready to play that position, and so it's always devastating when you lose a player to that position. But from that standpoint, we feel really good about our depth this year. Obviously with Shaq and Josie, and then Trevin and Claude behind those guys, and so those guys are all developing well.
How do him and Josie play off of each other?
Well, they're both experienced in the system. They're both experienced NFL players. There isn't a lot of things that has happened that is going to fool them, and so from that standpoint, they do a good job of anticipating and talking to each other and alerting each other, and they've developed a good relationship. I think it's helping them on the field as well. So.
No starters played in the preseason game. I know you have the joint practices coming up. How do you weigh the importance of maybe getting a good joint practice in versus getting reps during preseason games?
Yeah, the joint practice is really important just from the standpoint of even though you decide to play your guys in a preseason game, you're never going to play them enough to get them really conditioned for a game. And so from that standpoint, the joint practice, I think they're going to get 50, 60 snaps. They're going to get a lot like game-type conditioning, and we're still going to get the physicality that we want. So it's going to be really good.
EJ, building off that, what are the advantages of not playing your defensive starters in a preseason game? Can you expound on that?
Well, I think it's giving the younger guys that you don't have as much exposure to, giving them opportunities to show what they can do, gathering some information on them. Obviously, you want to limit the risk for injury, so all of those things factor in.
Brought up the staff and teaching guys. Tim got interviewed for a DC job. Pete's been on some short lists. Cooley got a promotion. What about that group makes them so good at working together and potentially working individually?
Yeah, I think it starts off with that they're all great guys. They're team guys. They're about their players. Every one of our coaches pours into their players, and so that's the starting point. They're sharp. I think on our staff, you can make the argument that every one of our position coaches has a chance to be a coordinator soon. They're all very, very talented people. Obviously, Todd Wash has done it before, but we got a great group of coaches. They're great people. They connect with their players. They're smart. they can all think outside of just their position. They can think globally, which is always a good thing. And so we got a great group that always has my back. And so I'm very, very fortunate.
You and Nate are pretty close. You guys get to see each other again this week. What do you like about going up against his defense? Going up against his offense.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And I think our relationship will allow us to like really collaborate in terms of we're not worried about winning the practice or anything. He needs to get certain things worked on. I need to get certain things worked on, and so our relationship will definitely help us bridge those gaps.
How did you think that practice with them went last year from a defensive standpoint?
I thought it was really good. Again, like we talked about, like we get to see a different offense, see different people. Just going against Aaron Rodgers too, just that level of communication and having to disguise everything and really be on point on what we're doing, because any weakness, anything that's not right, he's going to point it out. And so that was great work, and then very invaluable for us.
The trend now seems to be more emphasis on those than the joint practices than the preseason games. Do you think that is a healthy trend, and why?
I don't know if I have the answer to that, but I certainly enjoy going against other people in the practice setting because, like I talked about it, there's never going to be a time where you're going to play your starters, your main guys in a preseason game that much, right? And so just a standpoint of like, okay, we could go out on Thursday, we can have 50-plus plays for our starters. They could get a lot of good work. They could see a different opponent. So from that standpoint, I love it.
Was there a play? And I know it ended up only being one practice, but that Aaron made that you were like, I'm glad our guys saw that today, because that's not something we probably would have seen, against another quarterback.
Yeah, and there's one specific play that happened down in the red zone where we were trying to show split safety, and our linebackers were aligned as a post safety look, and he just walked up to the line of scrimmage as they broke the huddle. He's like, all right, that safety's coming down. All right, they're rotating over here. The front's going to be here, and he's just pointing everything out. And it's just like, okay, that's an example of why we emphasize the disguise so much, right? And it's not just a safety sitting back. If those linebackers aren't tied into it, as the front isn't tied into it, the elite guys are going to point that out. And so, like, I just think like that we can talk about it all we want, but like having a guy up there literally out of the huddle, he's pointing everything out. I mean, I think that really speaks volumes to the players. All right, thank you all.